السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. طلاب الأعزاء، سنتحدث في هذه المحاضرة عن tdist function in Excel. In this lecture, we will talk about the tdist function. The tdist function has three parameters: the t-value. The t-value can be computed from one of the following formulas. In two samples, we use the first one, and in one sample, we use the second one. The degree of freedom: in one sample test, it is the sample size minus 1, n minus 1, and in two samples, it is 2 times n minus 2, where n is the one sample size. Tails: if the distribution is one tail, we put 1. If the distribution is two tails, we put 2. Can be used in one sample and two samples. Now, to find the p-value for one sample by using the tdist function, we have first to compute the t-value, where by using this formula, where x bar is the sample mean, mu naught is the population mean, sigma is the sample standard deviation, and n is the sample size. Then we find the degree of freedom, which is n minus 1. n is the sample size. Then we determine the number of tails, find the p-value by applying the tdist function, and finally make a decision on the p-value table, or depending on the p-value table. Now let's see this example in order to understand how to solve one sample tdist. Example 1, one sample tdist. A study on a children's hospital found that the average number of infections per week is 16.3. So the population mean is what? 16.3. An investigator wanted to test such a claim by recording the results of the infections within a 10-week period. He found that the sample mean of this 10-week period was 17.7 infections with a standard deviation of 1.8. Assume that the sample is normally distributed. So from this question, we see that the population mean is 16.3. The sample mean is 17.7. The standard deviation is 1.8. And the sample size is 10. The assumption that the sample is normally distributed, we usually put this assumption when we solve any tdist question. Now, can you decide to reject or not reject the claim of the 16.3 infections per week recorded by the original study by using tdist? This question cannot be solved by using t-test because we only have statistics about the sample, not the samples in detail such as the sample in t-test. Okay, we have only statistics about the population, what is the population mean. We have statistics about the sample, which is the sample mean, the sample standard deviation, and the sample size is 10. As a first step, we have to state the hypothesis. H note the null hypothesis. The sample mean for the 10 weeks equals to 16.3. As we know, H note or the null hypothesis must have the equal sign. H1 sample mean for the 10 weeks does not equal to 16.3. The alternative hypothesis. This example is one sample because we have only one sample. It is two tails because the relational operator in H1 does not equal.